So now, all the school drama had stopped when I decided to drop out of school. Around this time, my cousin and I were outside talking. I know, it's so odd that we had lots of face-to-face interaction, because this was before everyone was glued to their computers and phone screens. We were chatting on Mom's porch, and I was standing as she sat. Deep in conversation, I looked down because a cat had come to say hi. I felt its fur warming up my legs as it twirled between them as I stood. I looked down to see if I could pick it up, but there's nothing there. This one, as the dog in my earlier story, didn't feel sinister. I thought it was a cute little cat ghost paying me a visit and wanted to cuddle. This isn't the only cat ghost I've come in contact with, or rather that has come to me. Stay tuned and share. Feel free to share in your compilations. Follow. Thanks. Storytime 17. So I was coming home from a date with a transition acquaintance guy. He was from New York and had a fun accent. He called me Moatha. It was sunset and the street lights were on. Mom was driving on 4th Avenue, which I guess is also historic US 80, and passing in front of Brownie's restaurant. I was helping Mom because her vision was bad at night, and I told Mom to slow down because someone was crossing in front of our car. She did slow down, but didn't see anyone. As I was yelling a little more firmly for her to stop, a couple of shadows of footsteps walked in front of our car. They were walking from the sidewalk and going to the other side of 4th Avenue, so from east to west. She asked me what I saw, and I just repeated this to her. Hubby just... And on we went. We were already close to home. See you next time. Hi again. Back for more? Well, this happened in 92. Around the first few months into my second real relationship, this new guy was never invited into my house, and maybe I can analyze why here or in the future. I mean, he wasn't a vampire, even though my daughter saw his photo and asked if he was a goth. Well, anyway, we were always everywhere but inside my house. We even went inside my cousin's house so he and my cousin could play poker. I was just there to enjoy spending time with him. One evening, we were in my mom's car making out as usual, and things were getting kind of steamy. But lo and behold, I looked toward my knees because my jeans were starting to feel funny. This isn't a quirky way of hinting at pitching a tent or something. That would have been his situation. No, this was a very human-looking face that was right there in the jeans, right in plain sight. Just like in those pareidolia photos on Reddit or something. Now, I don't remember if he also saw it because of the intoxication of the moment made it a blur. But in my own opinion, the face resembled my grandma. Was this her way of trying to express her approval or disapproval of this guy? This was the oddest timing, but not the only form she revealed herself with this entanglement. I guess Granny wanted to influence the paths of my life. I was thinking about this time in my life after hearing another story elsewhere online. And I had remembered a short experience with the New Yorker from right before this boyfriend. And what the heck, but it happened during another makeout. Is there a theme here or what? New York, as I'll call him, and I were up to that, enjoying the outdoors. And I thought I spotted some rats nearby in some nearby foliage. These two instances of strange happenings will happen one more time after these two story times in the future. Just make sure you're following for more. See you next time. Hey y'all. Okay, well, going off the last story makes perfect sense. The boyfriend I had dated for 8 months had broken my heart by breaking up with me. It was a terrible October for me. I spent many days crying and just felt dumped by all but one friend. I actually remember wailing and my pillows soaked from tears. My family seemed to give me my space to grieve, but this one was devastating. With my first love, I was the one that ended it. This is the only time I had been broken up with, and it just gutted me. Probably the next month, I was still crying myself to sleep. I had a dream visitation from my grandma. I had dreams of her in the past, but she never spoke to me and hasn't since. This time was so special because she was there in an empty space that I felt resembled a closed stage or a private room with a spotlight on her. She called me Mrs. Hopkins, and I just gasped myself awake. This is because my Nana never met my boyfriend. The first one. Well, none of them, actually. But I do recall her telling my mother when I was a small child still, and when she was still alive, that she predicted that my husband was going to have small light eyes, check, and a long pointy nose, check. So sweet message to her granddaughter who was in so much pain from this breakup. I actually lucked out and ran into his grandma as I was going to some shopping plaza with Mom and had thrown a book of matches with my number on it inside of his grandma's car and a message to call me. And he found it and he did just that. So long story short, I got my YT name from this visitation dream. Thanks for the likes and comments, and stay tuned for more. Now, I have no idea if this has happened to any other mothers out there, but just after my firstborn son was born, he grabbed onto the sides of a thick plastic bassinet, or whatever those are called. The nurses got scared and ran out of the room. I was medicated with that epidural, but I knew it had happened because they confirmed it later to me. One nurse found it comical that the other left her in the dust to leave the room. Has anyone heard of this happening with newborns? For years after, my firstborn son said he remembers nothing but darkness during his first memories, but maybe it's partially because he wanted to stay up all night and sleep all day. I just wish I had more support at that time. So once again, please tell me in the comments if you've ever heard of another newly born baby sitting up like this. I remember discussing it with one of my aunts, and she brought up the gist of him being an old soul or something along those lines. Thanks for continuing to follow me here. There are still more story times to come. Bye!